Hey guys, what's up? As promised, here is my review of Skies of Arcadia. Now, I don't have any physical version of this game because both versions are really rare and expensive nowadays, but I made this really cool patch instead to show off. Oh yeah, so let's begin. Start the damn video! This game's got a really interesting development story, which you can easily check out in its Wikipedia article, cause I know you're not here for its history, but rather the opinion. You wanna know if it's worth playing after 25 years of its original release. So as of the making of this video, this is only available on Dreamcast and GameCube. There are some rumors about an upcoming remaster because Sega recently renewed the trademarks of the game. It may or may not be true, some companies have done this in the past and nothing came out, and it did with others, or hasn't come out, or you know what I mean. The version I finished is the GameCube version, but I'll be doing some important comparisons to the Dreamcast original version today. So, you play as Vice, a sky pirate apprentice that, along with his childhood friend Aika, raid an Empire ship, but only to encounter the beautiful and mysterious Fina being held captive. Upon rescuing her and shaming the Empire as a result, they become public enemies, so they decide to go solo in their own adventures in their own ship, while also confronting the Empire who's trying to find some crystals to revive ancient giants and occupy the world. Yeah. Listen, I'll be honest here, I never felt that the story was a big deal until quite late in the game when it gets really good. But for the most part, it's a very traditional plot of the little guys versus powerful Empire, so we've seen it before. Its magic comes mainly from developing a personal relationship with the characters and what they go through, as well as embodying that sense of adventure as the player. And I'm telling you this because the influence of the Suikoden series is crystal clear here, not only in narrative, but also in some gameplay mechanics. You see, the overworld traveling is done on a ship, since everything takes place in the sky with several floating islands around. And about halfway through the game, you'll get your own island, your own base, which can be improved and customized, and you can also recruit different NPCs that will join your crew or base doing different things. If that doesn't sound like Suikoden, then I don't know what does. Now, in the Dreamcast version, both the overworld and the dungeons are infested with random encounters, up to the point where the game takes forever to finish because you get them very often. It's a pain in the ass to try to escape. It's an outdated chore that I'm glad was rebalanced in the GameCube version. Encounter rate there is highly reduced, thankfully. Still, the game is based a lot on exploration, especially if you want to discover secret locations and recruit all characters. So despite being low, the encounter rate still gets in the way and continues to feel like a chore. However, that shouldn't be an issue if you're a fan of Suikoden and you want precisely to find those locations and recruit everybody like I did, because it is simply one of the biggest highlights of the game. Sadly, this also means it's one of those where the hell do I go or how the hell do I get there kind of game. And it's really annoying to the point where you're forced to use a guide more often than necessary. Anyway, it isn't hard to recruit most characters as you simply talk to them or offer them any money or item, but others will send you into entire side quests you'll need to achieve at certain points of the game. But don't worry, not one character is missable here. We'll get to what these characters do later in the video. Now, another cool thing you can do here is that all towns have this guild where you can sell the information about the locations you find out there or buy it. There's also a wanted list of characters, some of them recruitable, that you can defeat on ship battles, of course. You also get paid for this. Stores and all that jazz are available in each town with classic JRPG equipment system, but you can also buy and sell parts for your ship, like different cannons for example. You'll also get some items that increase its HP after every major ship battle. No skill trees exist here. You can learn magic in combat, more on that in a bit, but for the skills, you have to find these moonberries out there that are dropped by the enemies or that are found in chests, which is rare. The battle system in Skies of Arcadia is turn-based with some ups and downs. Up to 4 characters can participate, each with a turn bound by their speed or agility, which is where the biggest come down comes into play. The turn order seems controlled 100% by RNG, which means often the character with the highest ability won't get to act first for no reason. The game isn't hard, thankfully, but it isn't easy either. It's balanced, but often your strategies go to hell because of the stupid RNG deciding the turn order at random. It's infuriating to say the least. The biggest up, however, is that every single character can easily learn any type of magic from any element by changing their weapon element during their turn. When you're choosing their action, you can simply switch to any color at will. Enemies have elemental strengths and weaknesses, of course, so it's up to you to find out which ones are weak to this or that. So the more you fight with that element on your weapon, the more points you'll receive after every battle for it, eventually learning new magic for that specific element. However, you don't need to have a specific type of element in your weapon to cast any magic your character has learned. This is awesome. I love this combat mainly thanks to this. As you've been seeing, there's an AP bar and it is shared by the whole party, which means every action except guarding uses points. It increases after every round, so you can have everyone guard if you want to save points on the first turn. You know, I like this penalty because it makes you eager to plan simple strategies such as healing or guarding or doing regular attacks until you can finally use that special skill you know will do massive damage to the enemies or bosses. It makes combat more engaging. There are also ship battles here, most of them are boss fights, but there are some optional quests where you can fight in your own ship. Anyway, they're turn-based but with a strange real-time penalty I don't like. Here's how they go. At the beginning of each turn, you'll choose everyone's actions like in a normal human battle, but every character is technically attached to a ship cannon. However, you can spend your turn using magic to attack, heal, buff, debuff, etc., or an item for the same purposes. Obviously, the AP bar I talked about before also applies here with the same rules, but your ship has a main cannon, which is the one that does serious damage and it requires a lot of AP to fire. So the gist of every ship battle is to attack or guard regularly until you're able to use the main cannon. That's right, able. Even if you have enough AP, if the icon doesn't appear up there in the turn order, you won't be able to use it. But that's not what pisses me off. What does is that once you've picked your actions, the ships will fly around in these long-ass animations, and if they get too far from each other, regular attacks will miss. That is completely out of your control, and there's nothing you can do. And the turn order RNG I mentioned before also applies here with its bullshit RNG, but I did feel it respects the speed stat a bit more, especially with the agility buffs. I don't think this was a good idea, programming the battles with completely unnecessary RNG. Maybe they felt it would make them more challenging, but it feels wrong to be honest. Anyway, remember the character recruitment I mentioned? Well, all NPCs you recruit will be a part of your crew, and there's usually 2 that can do similar things, but you can only bring with you for the battles 1 of each. They all have different passive skills which are buffs or debuffs. They do not attack at all. Just increase this or that at the cost of, you guessed it, AP. I'll be honest, I did use them for certain boss fights, but I preferred using my AP for my main playable characters. Crew actions can be very useful though, I'm just saying I used different strategies to win without having to rely too much on them. So in conclusion for this segment, I believe the game having 2 different types of turn-based combat gives it more appeal, breaking out of the repetitive nature of traditional style JRPGs. Despite having some annoying issues, my opinion is mostly positive towards both. The graphics in this game are beautiful for its time. Both versions look amazing for a 2000 video game, but they represent exactly that era of graphics and what the engine could offer back then. The character expressions may be a bit weird at times, but funny and likable at others. The GameCube version has updated visuals with upscaled graphics, so it's definitely the best one to play for that. And the music has some catchy themes that stuck with me, and even now I find myself whistling every now and then. But I'll be honest here, it's not an outstanding soundtrack by any means. Most of the themes are forgettable and sound either generic or boring. Regardless, it's saved by the few memorable tunes, like the battle theme for example. Overall, this is a great JRPG, but I get the feeling it's one of those that were greater back then. Some nuances like the encounter rate, or the slow exploration, or the where the hell do I go, or the RNG in the turn order are certainly negative highlights for today's standards. We've been spoiled by modern games with several quality of life features this game severely lacks, and it does hurt the experience. Still, The game aged fine, and still perfectly playable and enjoyable nowadays without the need of a remaster. Any good emulator can do great upscaling for you, as you've been seeing so far from my gameplay footage. As for which version is better, Legends of course, lower encounter rate, better visuals, and a few extra side quests and areas that weren't there in the original. It's basically the definitive version of the game. I can't believe I missed out on this game back then, way back then actually, and waited until this year to finish it. But the answer to your question is yes, it's definitely worth playing nowadays.